Hey guys, welcome to Crime Time. We're your hosts, Lady Sky, and
Mistress Bird Barella.
let's talk about monsters, specifically Belle. Her early life isn't all that interesting. She was born on November 11th, 1859, in Norway.
And her birth name is, Bernard Paulderster Storfitch. Thankfully, she changed it later on.
Fabulous job, Bird. Anyway, Belle was the youngest of 8 children born to a stonemason and his wife. They all lived huddled together on an awfully small farm. A rather common story is that Belle went to a country dance once while pregnant and was kicked in the stomach by a man at the dance. This caused her to miscarry. The man was wealthy and avoided charges but supposedly died shortly after due to stomach cancer. Around this time, her demeanor had changed.
Yeah, so what? What'd she do, curse him with stomach cancer or something? Come on.
She's not a witch, Bird. In fact, to escape poverty, she went to work for 3 years on a wealthy farm so she could immigrate to the U.S., get a more American name, Belle, and work as a servant.
Ah, the American dream.
Whatever you say, Bird. In any case, she got married in 1884 in Chicago to, Mads Anton Sorensen. 2 years later, the couple opened a candy shop.
That's wholesome.
You were legitimately just accusing her of being a witch a moment ago. Well, unfortunately, the business was a flop and mysteriously burned down that same year. The insurance paid for a new home.
Oh man. Well, at least they got a new home. Good for them.
Just stop. Now, reports say she had 3 girls and a boy. Allegedly, Caroline and Axel, her children, died as infants from acute colitis. Symptoms include nausea, fever, diarrhea, stomach pains, and cramping.
Those sound familiar. Are you sure she wasn't a witch?
No, I don't think she weighed the same as a duck. The children were insured, and the couple got a nice payout. The next census states the couple had 4 children, 2 deceased, 2 in the home, and another child they adopted named Jenny Olson. Soon her husband grew seriously ill. The first doctor he saw believed he was suffering from strychnine poisoning, though the second doctor diagnosed him and treated him for an enlarged heart. Unfortunately, on July 30th, 1900, he died anyway. An autopsy was never performed because it wasn't considered suspicious. Belle had even told the doctors that she was giving him medical powders to treat him.
Medical powders? Fucking knew she was a witch.
Bird, she's not a witch! In any case, she applied for the insurance money literally the day after the funeral. His family believes she poisoned him for the insurance money. Either way, the insurance company awarded her $8,500, which was the equivalent of $250,000 in current-day currency. She used this to buy a farm in LaPorte, Indiana. Shortly after, both the boat and the carriage house burnt down.
Another fire. Bad luck seems to be following her around.
Well, after she moved, she met up with an old friend of hers from back home named Peter Gunnis. A year later, on April 1st, 1902, Belle became Mrs. Gunnis. A week after that, Peter's infant daughter died of uncertain causes while alone with Belle.
Well, with all this bad luck, or witchery, I don't think Belle was a great choice as a babysitter.
Well, according to Belle, her husband then had a freak accident. He was reaching next to the stove for his slippers when he was scalded with brine. Apparently, this somehow led to a sausage grinding machine landing on his head from an above shelf, which caused a fatal head injury. A year later, Peter's brother took Peter's other daughter from Belle, so she wouldn't die mysteriously as well.
At least someone had some darn sense around there.
This time, she got $3,000, which in today's currency would be $87,500. This time, however, people seemed skeptical of Belle's claims. The man was a pig farmer, a butcher. He couldn't be that clumsy, they claimed.
How would they know? Are pig farmers or butchers famous for never being clumsy?
Either way, investigators were convinced of her innocence and she was free to go. She immediately put ads in the paper looking for men. Many men took the bait. The first was John Moe, who'd immigrated to Minnesota from Norway. Belle introduced him to the neighbors as her cousin, who'd come with $1,000 to pay off her mortgage. A week later, he was gone. Then came George Anderson, another immigrant from Norway. One night at dinner, Belle mentioned her mortgage. He told her he'd settle it if they ever married.
Belle was just trying to invade speed dating, that's all.
Well, that night, he woke up with her standing over him holding a candle and staring at him. Startled, he yelped and she ran out. He left that night, certain she had wanted to murder him. He was so concerned, he left all of his things behind.
If the choice was between all of his worldly possessions and living, I think he made the right choice.
Her next suitor, was Ol B. Budsberg, a widower from Iowa. He was last seen mortgaging his land, signing over a deed, and getting thousands of dollars in cash at the savings bank in LaPorte. When his sons found out his last known whereabouts, they wrote to Belle. She wrote back saying she'd never seen their father. More and more suitors kept lining up.
Was this lady's pussy made out of gold or something?
In December 1907, Andrew Helgelian seemed smitten. exchanging many letters. One letter in particular, which we'll read on the podcast, really sold him on it, and he arrived at the farm the following month. He also brought with him his entire savings, $2,900 to be exact.
What a swell guy.
Well, he was last seen at the savings bank with Belle, depositing the check. Days later, Belle returned alone and made a $500 deposit, then went to the state bank and deposited another $700.
She was making bank. Cash money, baby.
Well, this was the beginning of the end for Belle, as her farmhand Ray Lamphere had inexplicably fallen for her.
Did she cast a spell on him, or was it that golden snatch that he fell in love with?
Apparently it was something. Turns out Ray was insanely jealous of the many men. Belle fired him, told police he was a danger to the public, and even got a sanity hearing arranged, though he was declared sane. Then she tried to get him locked up numerous times, yet Ray was still coming around and now bragging to people about helping her dispose of bodies. This was a problem for Belle. She told a lawyer that she feared for her safety and the safety of her children. She claimed Ray had threatened to kill her and burn her house down. Even had him make her a will where she left everything to her children. Oh yeah, did I mention she had another child? In 1903, she gave birth to a boy she named Philip. She never did tell police any of her concerns. Soon after, the new farmhand she hired woke up early on April 28, 1908, to the house on fire, and screamed for Belle and the kids. Getting no reply, he jumped from a second-story window in just his underwear. He immediately went to town to get help, but by the time they arrived, it was no use. The farmhouse is now just a skeleton. 4 bodies were found, including that of a headless woman initially thought to be Belle.
I'm no scientist, but I don't think your head usually falls off when you catch on fire.
When the police questioned Ray after learning of his supposed threats, he immediately asked if Belle and the children escaped, before the police had even told them what had happened. A witness was brought forward and claimed to have seen Ray. He was charged with murder, though it was eventually determined the body wasn't Belle's. This case has a ton of crazy details regarding that and other things that we'll be discussing in the podcast. During the investigation, police recovered the remains of around 12 people. The exact number is unknown. One of the bodies belonged to Belle's daughter, long since dead. Ray was arrested and charged with murder and arson. His attorney claimed the dental bridge used to determine it was Belle's body was planted. The gold in the teeth would be melted as with gold-plated watches found at the scene. They then demonstrated this in court with a replica set. Roy was found guilty of arson, but acquitted of murder. On November 26, 1908, he was sentenced to 20 years, dying a year later from tuberculosis.
Wait, if Belle's body was never found, that means she could still be out there, casting spells and tricking people with her magic pussy.
No, Bert, stop! This brings our case to a close, though there are many details we didn't cover here that we will be covering in Thursday's podcast. If you like this video, leave a like, and if you're new and want to know when we upload, hit that bloody red subscribe button down below and the little bell next to it.
You can check us out on Twitter and Facebook. The links for those and our podcast will be in the description below. Oh, and please leave us a shitty comment, because they're my favorite.